Oh, I better not move my hands too quickly because if you joined us last week, you know my internet and my telekinesis can do powerful things. I apologize, guys, for last week.
Last week was
We were in 12 inches of snow,
it was
and
a shit
today
show.
it's 62 degrees. So, end of the world, Matt. Did we put that on our predictions? Where's our prediction list?
No, I just remember you froze very early on, and then I was doing like a monologue, and I'm like, you know what, I ain't doing this, and so we're shutting this all down. And
I texted you like, I'm trying. My computer was like,
YouTube has all these analytics that I'm the anal guy that tracks all that, and I haven't even bothered to look at last week because
I bet it did great. I bet our 11-minute nightmare did really wonderful. I bet it was our best show. All right,
really
guys.
depressing.
God, that's how it goes. But you know what? We're here. We're loving it. We love you guys joining us. It's Astrology and Alchemy every Tuesday at 9 p.m. with Paranormal Sarah, Matthew, his dogs, my kids, everyone screaming. We're real people. That's how you know we're not.
I found out yesterday that I still can't walk for 2 weeks. So if anyone's watching Sunday Night Dead, Sunday Night Dead's not coming back until May because I ain't going over into my office until I can walk.
Right. Gosh,
it's a logistics thing. It's funny. My wife last week, which it's funny because the show crashed. We had company. So I had like 5 people around me in this room that I'm in right now. I'm like, don't you want to go into your office? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of can't walk in there, and I certainly can't do it in 5 minutes. And so, yeah, I'm not doing my show again until I can actually like walk and get into that room.
Yeah, be in your space, be in your studio with all your stuff that you have.
Yep.
Yeah, like me, if I live up and people often will say, like, I love the way it looks in your I'm on level 3 of one of those like log cabins with the invisible staircases that you imagine your leg falling through and you could actually fall through, like, because there's it's like a log cabin staircase, like no railing, no nothing. And I'm not coming up here if I've rolled my ankle or if I've done something, I'm not doing it. So I totally feel that. But
I hate because some folks are asking me about this. So like I can't share the x-ray, but yeah, I have a plate with like 6 screws in my foot. Oh. And the first week that I'm allowed to walk, I get to do 2 remote weeks for work. And so I do them up with my parents to visit with them. So I'm going up north, and I don't want to do the show. I don't want to like say, sorry, mom and dad, I'm like doing a show from your living room or anything.
Right, no.
So it'll be like mid-May before Sunday Night Dead comes back, but it is coming back.
That's so cool.
Unless Paranormal Channel kicks me out, which I have no indication they will.
Hey, they might kick me out. You never know. And you guys, we are growing. Odyssey was reformed into something, and all the big corporations are just kind of really eating each other. It's like watching Hungry Hippos, I suppose. But you can now find us on iHeartRadio, which is really cool. And so we've got just additional people and podcasts and networks joining us in from all over. And so tonight, if you're joining us in the chat room, let us know where you're from. I've got everything, I think, mostly figured out, but I'm also going to share my screen just a hair because I think there's 2 days. I'm hoping Steph and our fellow astrologers are joining us. But I didn't see much happening this week. There's big things and then nothings. So we should probably get into it. What do you think? Easter was good. Easter's behind us. Jesus has risen. We're all back to the things. And then today is Tuesday, April 11th. Wonder if people got a love letter today or a message from their twin flame or their soulmate, or if they felt creative, extra creative, because Venus entered Gemini. That
Really?
It's magic. Yeah, today, because I know we didn't have last week because of my malfunction. So
interesting.
Why do you say it like that?
Just because I'm going to say read into good or bad, read into any communications you've had today from folks.
Today was supposed to be
This
the
is
best
this
day,
is
said
this is
Steph.
like that romantic. I haven't heard from so and so for 6 months. Maybe I'll send out a message and see how you doing.
Yeah. And that like, hey, don't know, heard you were coming back in town. Heard you got a broken leg. Do you need an extra nurse? Like,
to be clear, none of this relates to me. I'm just saying.
Or me. We live vicariously through those people that it does relate to. Any
how you doing messages, but it's just interesting that you said that.
Yeah, well, that is. And for those people who follow along, I can already think of like 5 people, Chet, if you're out there, hello, listening in, who use this to grow and invest and utilize, money and finance. And Venus, baby, is art, money, shifting. And so I was even watching that today for like America and the money and the dollar and stocks and the weather and just what to expect. And there was a lot of, and I know we're not going to get political. We don't do that here. But there was like a lot of, continued manufacturing plants, plastic plants, manufacturing plants, dairy plants, just like a lot of smoke in the air today, it seemed like. So I'm wondering how that'll affect the money as things unfold, and knowing that today is that Venus entering Gemini. What Gemini advice do you have for that, Matt?
Well, it's funny because, again, I was just thinking about, like looking at like what interactions come from other folks. So I always like look into that. But I don't think Gemini energy. I'm sorry, my dog's requesting to get on my lap.
Must be in the show, Father.
Mm-hmm. The COVID pup wants the spot that my laptop had, so I had to move it. I view Gemini and energy as not very lasting. So if you get these communications kind of like reaching out to you, don't think there's a whole lot of substance to it. It's just kind of feelers reaching out. It doesn't mean you can't try to build off that, but don't view this as my twin flame has reached out to me and this is destiny and we're going to be together forever and blah 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 blah. It's Gemini is fickle. It's that which path am I going to go? So I don't put a lot of staying power in anything in the Gemini energy, but it could be a seed that is planted that could grow. So,
and a lot of baby announcements today. We're hearing that even in the chat room. So if you thought you were pregnant, maybe don't know you're pregnant. A lot of people getting pregnant right now. So it's the baby train. It's spring fever as it is. But that Venus and Gemini too is like, are you sure?
The shoe fits, but it's more of a seed than a conclusion.
Yeah. It's more of a, do you need some shoes? Oh, you do. What size shoe do you wear? Like, that's kind of where we're at in that moment. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to get shoes. It's going to assumptions will be made. Now, tomorrow is when things, I say, really start because, hey, tomorrow is really today. It's the only day. Today's the only day. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 12th, February. Sarah, where are you? It's April. April 12th is this. What? Yes, I know. The moon waning in Capricorn. Now, again, unless you guys have something else out there or something different, let me know. But my almanac says really just the moon. Smaller, getting darker in a Capricorn space. What do you think about Capricorn energy?
Well, I'm a sun Capricorn, so I relate to this a lot. But remember that the moon energy is very fleeting. So it's only like 2 days, 3 days worth. So this isn't like a huge move. But I would say most people on Wednesday emotionally are going to be focused more on achievement. It's the little goat climbing up the mountain. So goals, what can I do? What can I achieve? What will make me feel happy achievement-wise? That's what you got.
Man, my intuition was playing Ren and Stimpy there. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy. Steph sharing that, man, she has felt those energy shifts as we've talked about them. And I know, 2 weeks ago we had shared we expect some big weather, some tornadoes and some volcanoes. And I mean, yes, it's predictory towards like weather, but bigger than usual. And then we did have a lot bigger than usual. And then in numerous places. Do we think that that's going to continue? Someone asked there in the chat. Do we think that the bad weather is going to continue? And I mean, I will share with you my thoughts on that. I don't know about you, Matt. What about you, Matt? What do you think? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it'll continue.
Big time. Mm-hmm. Melting, erupting, that pressure. Like feel that collective consciousness pressure. Just can't take it any longer. Like that feeling of change, that shift. It's tectonic, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's Mother Earth too. So Steph says, man, I got the moon trine Uranus and the moon opposing Mars as well. So Matt, when you think of the moon opposing Mars, how do you feel that? Trine Uranus. Yeah, I'll put that in
So I'm
there.
assuming that means moon, Capricorn, Mars, Cancer?
Yes. Mars is in Cancer.
All right. So
see that math, guys?
They're kind of like two halves of the same coin. So Cancer's more security, stability, but still wanting to get things done. Capricorn's kind of pushing the boundaries, what else to be accomplished. So it's kind of that give or take between what actions will make me feel safer versus what do I need to achieve to make me feel safe. So I hope that makes sense.
I love that. And
there really is a tension there. It's like you got to step out of your comfort zone to achieve new things, but to be more comfortable, there's new things you want to achieve. So it's that tension.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And that you shared a word that also Steph had shared in our chat room of the word influence. I think of that as well with like the devil card in the major arcana. If you're doing tarot, that is the persuasion, that feeling, that, ooh, that push, that shift, that move, the momentum. And there's like a pulling, like cursive writing almost in the air with it. That theme of whisper, whisper, whisper. Like almost like an air push. Like I always think of Gavin Rosdale whispering to that man in Constantine as he kills himself with, and just, man, that it's the whisper. That's all it is. That's really needed to get that feather flowing through the beginning part of Forrest Gump. So in that space, I'm excited about how this is going to all unfold. What do we think as far as world events with Mars and Cancer, the moon waning in a Capricorn space? What do we think for predictions? Do we got any predictions, guys?
Well, I think it is a shuffling the deck towards more stability. But when you think about all the players, national or globally, what'll make them feel more secure are conflicts with other people. So I see a lot of like the chessboard things moving in ways that might make some folks feel better, but other folks feel like more stressed.
Yeah.
So even though we're talking about stability, I feel like it's counterintuitive. I feel like this energy is going to lead to a globally less secure area. Because as everyone moves to what's going to make them feel better, it's going to create situations where other people will feel less better. And so it'll increase the overall conflict.
Dang. Hearing you say that, my intuition, and for those of you joining us here on Astrology and Alchemy, maybe for the first time, get a piece of paper out, share in the chat room, write it down right now, pause the show if you need to. Write your own intuitions when we say, gosh, what do you think for the predictions? How do you feel this panning out? Because it's just a week ahead. This really gives you that validation, that connection with your own intuition of what things might think or sound or feel like in your mind's eye, and then how it comes to be. Then you can be skeptical of yourself and see it pan out. Yeah.
'Cause, 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 'cause,
wonder. Okay. Wonder. Welcome, Heather, Steph, John, Jerry, Carson, Rebel, Ann, Dory, everybody, Coley, Marie, all of you guys joining us. Welcome. Share where you're joining us from. It's good to see your faces. If you're a time traveler listening on another day other than Tuesday live on YouTube, then it's okay. And we appreciate you listening. And send us your thoughts. There's going to be all sorts of growing shows. I know Matt's got a few fun things to be offering up this Sunday. I've got my return to no man's land, if that even pans out. And when you start talking about global security, that's relative. Absolutely relative. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We're not going to get into politics, but man, let's take it into Thursday. Let's take it into Thursday. That will be not the 12th, but the 13th. So I want to put that in there because I know some people are big numerologists here. I've only got one thing on the calendar. Let me know if you guys in the chat room have something different. Maybe you're in a different part of the world. I don't know. I don't think so. But Thursday the 13th, we have, let's take it into the chat room. Last quarter. Oh, it's just another moon phase. A last quarter moon waning in Capricorn. So it's almost like, drum roll, a ripple of the exact same thing you had on Wednesday. Just a little
I don't have a
shift.
whole lot to add. I think that was my dear daughter McKenna in the background there. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Emotionally, energy towards achievement and climbing that mountain and what's going to make me happy and what can I get done emotionally. So yeah, that's the energy you have tomorrow.
That's
Thursday.
Thursday. And then I wanted to show this for anybody chiming in. So this is tomorrow, the 13th. So that's what you're looking at. And we're looking at like Jupiter, the sun, real heavy in Aries. Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. This is delusion. This is fantasy. Still all that stuff going down. So then I would say on the 13th, you also have got really this going on. Isn't that going to be an opposite, opposing? The moon in Capricorn, opposite Mars in Cancer. Is that when you're looking at that? Do you feel like that's the biggest thing?
Yes, but for me, I always call that out when it's like 0 degrees. So when they're like exactly opposite of each other.
Okay. It'll definitely be on that 13th as opposed to Wednesday, right? They're definitely not exactly far apart. Boom. It will have happened Thursday morning.
All these things, if we're off a little bit, it's like when it's 0 degrees is when it's at its peak, but there's a window where these energies build. So it might not be exactly the day, but I would look for over the span of a couple of days of seeing if these things happen.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. And so then we've got on the 14th, I've got some of those things that I see. I see Steph sharing already like, hey, I've got these things coming. Yes, you do. So, but I have those for Friday morning, Friday the 14th. So let's immediately go into what kind of I don't want to say nightmare, but Friday the 14th. It's, it's almost that kind of vibe where you've got so much rocking the show. What can we have to expect? The first thing is this, and I again, that numerology, I want to put that in there as I get it going. Someone asked, how is your foot? Heather, he'd shared in the opening that 2 more weeks, but how,
Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't see it, and I'm having trouble reading the chat.
It's going quickly.
Excuse me. 2 more weeks, and then I can walk.
Moon conjunct Pluto, Moon trine Venus, Moon square Jupiter. Woo, baby. All that stuff. The first one, Saturn in Pisces, sextile true node in Taurus. So when you see that, what do you think? What do you start thinking?
All right. So we don't talk nodes a lot. So the best way I can describe is your north node is your syllabus for this life. Your south node is the PhD you're coming into this life with. So, and that'll all be different depending on your birth chart. But if we're talking like globally, the true node, so what we need to learn more about is about Taurus. So it's that kind of stability, indulgent, not moving, sticking to your guns. And that has, with sextile, it's really removing obstacles to Saturn, meaning rules, regulations, in Pisces, which is that more sacrificial, thinking of the needs of the many versus the needs of the individual. So I see this as, and I'm being kind of long here, I see this as big energy towards moving society and moving rules towards something that is more equitable, even if there are harms to the individual. So keep an eye on legislative changes on, this is Thursday.
This is Friday morning.
No, Friday. Keep an eye on Friday then.
Right. I have to put that in there because again, we're going to be, I want to keep hitting on some of these major themes. You've got that true node, that like, pretty big theme. So then add this to Friday morning. Bum, bum, bum.
I think the node, compared to all our planets, I think the node is huge. The node's more important than any of the other planets. So it's kind of like this true north where we're heading. So I feel Friday is very significant. And the moves that are done on Friday are the right moves, not misguided moves.
Gotta add that in there. Okay. All right. And then you have that the very kind of next shift astrologically, that Friday, again, kind of Friday morning. The moon in Capricorn waning, but conjunct right over that Pluto in Aquarius, right on that line. What do you see?
See, I struggle with these, and maybe somebody that's more formally trained would have a better view of this. This is one of those deals where they're not 0 degrees apart from each other, because obviously Pluto's in Aquarius and the moon's in Cap, but they're close enough together that this meets the definition of a conjunction. I struggle a little bit here because it's conjunction in 2 different signs, and conjunction is really defining the energy. So if I want to be just kind of just as this is purely known, this is kind of rebellious impersonal change in a rebellious thinking outside of the box energy, combining with emotional achievement. So even though I kind of struggle with where these energies combine, I view this as, again, the needle moving significantly towards some kind of out of the box societal change. So definitely keep in mind of what gets proposed, what gets implemented, what on the global scale gets done on this day, because it could have profound downstream implications.
And then Steph, she's adding a few little things. So I'm probably going to go and look at it here on the visual too before we finish up, because it's just adding more things to Friday. And as I see it, I'm like, ooh, okay. And then of course, kind of gearing up for eclipse type vibes, but this big release of energy, this big melting of things, this big shift as that moon and Capricorn, as you said, it's like just kind of overlapping, but not technically quite, because how can they be if they're in different spaces? The moon quincunx. What a fun word. Mars that early morning. So that's way beyond my astrological awareness for the quincunx. That's mathematical stuff that's going to start getting into fours.
I'll just add, they are aspects. They are less energetically significant aspects. So what I view that, like if you're thinking of like we're cooking a dish, if Sarah and I are cooking a dish, conjunct could be like chicken, and trine could be the sauces and things, and like quincunx and these other things might be like a pinch of salt. So it adds something to it, but it's small.
Well, don't be done yet with all the little pinches of salt we're adding to Friday. Still, Friday is then this next one. So then let's add this on there where you've got Venus squaring off with Saturn and the moon squaring off with Jupiter, trine Venus and Gemini. So, right? Ooh.
Yes, one at a time here.
Right.
Let's do Jupiter. So again, emotional, wanting to achieve things, but remember the moon changes every like 2 to 3 days, so it's fleeting. It's not very strong energy, and it's in conflict with Jupiter, which moves much slower, much stronger energy in Aries. So Jupiter is opportunity. Aries is like this spontaneous, just something's gonna pop up in front of you. Opportunity wise, you're gonna have this tension between emotionally, I want to achieve X, but the opportunity that's going to show up is Y that isn't aligned with it. Do I go through that door or don't I? So if you think about, I don't know, like if it's someone that's like waffling between two job opportunities, excuse my dogs, and they emotionally really want to do option A, but all of a sudden like a huge opportunity pops up in option B. That's how I describe that energy. It's not the thing you want, but all of a sudden it looks like this great opportunity for something else.
Who's going to sing it? Can't always get what you want. Is it like that? But you try sometimes. Is it going to be a good thing?
Now, related to that, although, so it's Jupiter trine Venus, right? Because they're both
Jupiter, yes, trine Venus and Gemini. So here, I'll share that for the 14th so that we can look at it and be like, oh, that is the math, is it?
So related to that, then there is synergy between, since we're talking more opportunity, I'm going to say Venus is more a business space than romantic space, but folks watching this, keep in mind it could be romantic as well. That option B, which isn't the one that you necessarily wanted, is also going to look very, very attractive economically as well.
Dang. Put icing on.
So it's like you want option A, but all of a sudden option B presents itself and it looks like everything is falling in line, that B would be fantastic, even though emotionally it's not what you really want.
Dang.
And you can almost apply that to like so many like romance, like rom-coms out there and stuff, where it's like, you know, you got the obvious choice that makes sense, but emotionally I'm tied to the other one. That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Dang. And you can see some of this is the moon conjunct Pluto right there. This is Venus and Gemini over here, guys. This is just that teeter-totter in our galaxy right now. It's so heavy.
And I feel like calling out for everyone individually here. You know, there's something that's very important to me that I want to call out is, remember, playing the game changes the game. So making decisions and everything you do changes all the other variables around you. So for each individual that's facing this aspect in their space, the decisions they make is going to change what that whole landscape looks going forward.
Absolutely.
It's so funny. I have one dog that we always laugh at that like does these like loud snores of agreement, and she just agreed with what I just said.
Yes. Yes. Joy and luck. Luck and joy of the universe may not pan out with the desires that you have. And how is that going to look for nations? How is that going to look for ventures, business ventures? How's that going to look for any of that? And
I
for
mean,
you specifically.
this can get really complicated, but if you just kind of view it as this whole matrix of the world, once you make a decision, that shifts all the options that are available. Once you make another decision, that shifts all options that are available. So what we're kind of teeing up here is there's a profound decision that needs to be made by some people. But once you make that individual decision, certain avenues are going to get closed off and other ones are going to open up.
Man, and that's why each and every little of those, knowing those aspects, knowing how they affect you specifically. I always have really appreciated this growth in astrology for my own like clinical practice, for therapy, for counseling, for mental health, social services, prediction, crisis de-escalation, all of it. It helps me get a sense of where I am at, but also where everyone else in the universe might be. So
another way to word this is whatever we're going to talk about going forward from this, decisions you make today will close off or open up options for anything we're going to talk about going forward. And that holds to any other day we've talked about going back like 2 years on this show.
Right? Years we've done shows together, Matt. Years. And our predictive ability, I would say, is accurate, relevant, and helpful at a pretty high rate of success. So, and how is it that we're able to do that? In many ways, I would say astrology, math, just awareness, perspective, the ability to be open, to listen, all of those things, the giving and receiving of the exchange of energy between you and your observer. And that's, I kind of think, the universe blinking back at us when I look at the stars. And I feel like the astrology is my double slit experiment of seeing how those decisions might affect me. And maybe I want to make a different one. Maybe I want to follow a different path in the stars. So something, a UAP, if you will, not really, but an asteroid. Someone said the magic word in the chat room, goddess, the Venus. Thank the goddesses for that. Trigger word. There's an asteroid that came in the Farmer's Almanac. I'd never really seen it big time for mentioned, but on Saturday, it's really the only thing shifting, moving, unless again, people have something different for Saturday, hell knows. But Saturday, I have Vesta. I think of Vespa. I think of Princess Vespa from Spaceballs. But this is a goddess asteroid, and you're going to giggle when I say, because think about this in the astrology right now. It said that Vesta is the asteroid goddess representing the inner flame of passion, and that when in Taurus, the energy is focused on security, comfort, but also pleasure. And that this is the goddess of the twin flame of self, of pleasure, and focusing on value and ally building. What do you think of? What do you think of the twin flame energy being in Taurus?
So two things. I don't spend a lot of attention on these, so you're kind of, just for folks that are watching, you're kind of catching me off guard. Spaceballs, I keep thinking of like Prince Valium. This all of like falling asleep. But with what you described in the Taurus space, I view this as a very self-centered energy, and what is it going to take to fulfill me and what I want and what I desire. And so I see this as a very one, advocating for oneself, but also even behind the scenes, people are going to want what's in it for them. So that even though I know they're kind of not in an opposite angle, but I view like Taurus and Pisces as opposite in this regard. I feel like Taurus is a lot about, it's all about me, and Pisces is about, screw it, it's all about everybody else.
Well, and I'm thinking about when you say screw it, that placement of, sorry, we've got a flyover of helicopters and things because I live right next to the Army base here. I don't know if you can hear them.
Or I can't hear it, at least.
going pretty close. Creating safety within your life. Is it going to be with others, for others, about others? Is there a dependency? This is going to be like attachment, dependency issues. Codependency. What is it like for me? It might be chocolate and bread, but it could be for a person. It could be an opportunity or a job. It could be, what is it that you think you need versus what you want? But also one other thing is happening that Saturday afternoon, and that is that the moon will be, like you'd mentioned, just a small shift, but the moon will be waning in Aquarius. Is there anything to mention about Aquarius energy when you put it on top of that Taurus ripple?
I always view Aquarius energy as what needs to change, or what do I need to like kind of blow up to meet my goals. So even though I think this is like a minor thing, I would look at there's some level of energy of what do I need to change to make things kind of go forward.
A good day to give advice.
And it's interesting because I'm kind of thinking of Taurus versus Cancer versus Scorpio. These are the three that popped up. I feel Taurus is doing things for their own indulgence, whereas Cancer would be motivated by security and safety. And Scorpio would be motivated by emotional fulfillment, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of Taurus is the physical, Cancer is safety, and Scorpio is emotional. But I feel they're all kind of kindred spirits in this whole kind of what do I need? Almost kind of a level of, don't mean to be derogatory, but I would say selfish type energy.
Sexual chocolate, said Steph. And when someone says sexual chocolate, my brain does word association and does chocolate raid and starts doing like internet memes and gets really like goes into ladies man. And I think of ladies man bringing the cavatier to every date, even though that's his favorite drink. He brings it for the lady.
I'm going to add, as odd as this might sound, Taurus and Libra are the Venus ruled signs. Mm-hmm. So I would say they're the most sexual signs, but I would say the difference is, Taurus is introverted, Libra is extroverted. So I would say Libra's kind of the giver and Taurus is kind of the taker.
Yeah.
In that sexual dynamic. So take that for what you want.
Take that. That's a truth is what I'll say. Yeah. So we'll just take that with our, and I do get fish sandwiches from Ladies Man. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. These are the last 3 days in our usual home stretch. And you guys, 15th, 16th, 17th, 15th is Saturday, 16th, 17th, 18th. Guess what? Nothing really shifts other than the moon. Nothing is really moving other than the moon, and it's not going to be conjunct with anything. It's not going to be opposite anything. It's almost as if until you get to Tuesday, nothing is really happening. It's just the same energy moving in the constellations that they are in. And it's very, very heavy to that one side of the astrological planets when you're looking at the grid. They stay there in those spaces.
I wanted to add, based on the comments here, just speaking to me personally, I have a Libra stellium, so I have like a profound like perfectionist streak, but it's more directed towards others, not selfishly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's not that selfish. It's about helping people, man. It's about helping people. So let's at least do the moon. So we'll just know that there's not any huge, big things. But guys, this is building up to next week, which you have to tune into the show and you have to join us on social media. It's free. Why not? Why not do it? Where we're sharing like how to use the eclipse. Oh, the eclipse. There's big moon things happening. There's big astrological things happening this month that we don't want to miss out on. And we definitely want to use that energy. But so Sunday the 16th, the only kind of big, I mean, small, it's not a huge change, is that Luna, the moon, is in Pisces. So moon waning in Pisces. How do you feel about Pisces, Jams?
We've talked about this. I put a lot less stock on the moon than you do because of how fleeting it is. But I will say that this is a couple days of, I'd say Pisces is the most selfless of the 12 signs. It's the last sign of the zodiac. It's more this kind of take one for the team. My time here is done because it's the last sign. What can I do for others? So I would say there is a emotional energy over this space towards more giving to others at the expense of oneself.
Be careful not to give too much of yourself on Sunday, the 16th. And if we say that to America, if we say that to the vibes of people as we are all shifting in this space, how do you feel like that'll predict or go down for a Sunday prediction of all of this movement?
Sunday's always an interesting one news-wise because I always feel like the stuff that they want to get buried gets like announced on a Sunday. So I would look for things that folks are willing to accept as a loss to get announced or move on a Sunday where it won't get as much exposure. I honestly don't know which way this is going to go because at least domestically, my own personal opinion is we're looking at two different dumpster fires competing with each other to see which one's like the bigger flame. And so like, I really, for me personally, I have no optimism or faith in any side here. So all bets are off over which one does what, but
yeah. I'm running the concession stand over here. That's what we're doing.
I'm at the point where I'd almost trust a nursery school student to handle things better than either party would.
Stop it.
Or even better, let's start making decisions by flipping a coin.
Bring AI into it, and let's just give up the choice completely and say what
Terminator.
do you think?
Let's turn it over to the machine.
It's already happened. Don't say it. Don't even speak it. Okay, guys. That was Saturday. Sunday, somebody said, are we paying attention to that? Sunday was the moon waning in Pisces. So we'll go ahead and at least put that in there. Moon waning in Pisces. So I'll share that for those in the chat. There. Monday, nothing major or minor. How do we feel about that? Nothing. The moon isn't moving into a new sign.
I don't know if it's a difference of our source data or if it is actually like we haven't done this long enough for me, at least personally, to know whether it's an astrological thing. But I find the increased number of days where nothing is going on a little disturbing. Increasing? I feel that almost like calm before the storm. Like, we have nothing going on. It actually makes sense if you look at like your chart where you're seeing where all the planets are. There's so many like loaded on one side that it makes sense that they wouldn't be interacting as much because they're all kind of like loaded on one end. But I do get kind of a calm before the storm vibe from a lot of this stuff.
I don't want to say anything too much about that, but yes, I also feel that way. I will take you into people in the chat room are like, man, it's even weird. They've backtracked, they've looked at things, they've had to pull out their own chart and say, yeah, look at this crazy stuff. Look at these predictions and how they pan out. I'll share my screen here. The moon conjunct Neptune, says Steph. On Monday.
Oh God, hang on.
Moon conjunct Neptune. So that would be right there. It's going to happen near, see how it's going to pass over Neptune right here on the 17th into the 18th. So let's go ahead and
so here, just to be clear, like if you look at in like books, they'll say like 10-degree difference is considered a conjunct. What I like to call as where they're officially conjunct, where it like peaks, is where they're actually over top of each other.
Like this is not quite Uranus and Mercury. No, whoa, don't do that. Uranus and Mercury, not quite. Aries and Jupiter, not quite. Luna and Neptune, not quite. But it will, when you backtrack, like see it's going, and it's going to move over Neptune.
And here's where it gets complicated, is because when you're having that building, and if you go into like astrology.com, you can see where some of these like aspects are approaching versus receding. When they're building, obviously some of these things we're talking about, they're not going to happen on like necessarily one day. They might build over like 3 or 4 days, but where they're like at the exact point is where that like peaks. So if you want to be really, really specific, some of these predictions you want to look at, like, you know, if they become conjunct at like 12:10 a.m. Eastern time, you kind of want to look and see what happens like right around that time.
Well,
way beyond like what we can do here, but I mean, for folks playing along at home, like prediction wise, that's what you want to look at.
And I would almost say if you have those epiphanies, those in your ear that you're like, whoa, that moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces kind of shift, that is like a fantasy dream, psychic increase, like buzz in the ear. What is that usually telling people, shy of, you know, your brain is heating oxygen? Well, that maybe you need to pay attention. You know what I mean? And yeah, Mary in the chat said, man, when I started watching this a year ago, this days where nothing happened, like never happened. Right.
But keep in mind, and we can't do this for all of you individually, but there's something you can play at home, is in addition to all we're talking about here, there is the interaction with your birth chart and what's going on. And those interactions could like do things individually for you, which obviously it would be way too chaotic if we tried to interpret everyone that's in the chat what's going on. But that's something to kind of keep in mind. If you know the actual like kind of basic what the different signs mean and what the different aspects mean by listening to us, you can kind of apply that to your own chart and see what that would mean for you personally. I hope that makes
don't forget. We
let
do
me know,
those
let me know in the
readings.
chat if I confused you, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and we do those readings, guys. So if you want one of those, let us know. Mary, she's kind of started to already reach out and say, hey, I'm making my investment for that kind of reading. And so being able to do that and line stuff up for you guys is so important. I know, Carson, I'm showing my screen like a rock star because I'm trying to do more things like that because I'm presenting big stuff like a big professional these days. I may not always be tech savvy, but let's finish it up here. Wrap around to Tuesday the 18th, where again, the only real major, and it's not even major, astrological thing that's going to be happening is that the moon is going to move into Aries. Go ahead and join Jupiter. Join that little Eris. Join all those other planets and that heaviness in Aries. What kind of vibe do you have for that for a Tuesday?
Yeah, so I was going to say again, moon, got to emphasize this again. This is like a subtle nudge, so keep this in mind. But you're moving from this more Pisces, selfless, take one for the team, to more impulsive. I view like Aries is very much a teenage boy energy of, you know, who cares about what happens 2 years from now? I'm thinking about today and what I need to do today to make me feel good and fulfill my goals. So keep in mind that everybody, regardless of what your signs are going to have this nudge to be this, you know, more impulsive, more short-sighted decisions. And, you know, for me personally, you know, on one end, that's good for moving the needle. On the other end, if you want to be more strategic, someone like myself doesn't like these kind of impulsive decisions. So, you know, kind of bake that into your own calculus as to, you know, how beneficial you find that impulsive energy. but realize you're going to have this emotional impulsive nudge to like shake things up and do shit on Tuesday.
Shake it up. Pick your music wisely. Pick who you have in your space wisely, what you're listening to, those additional unconscious influences, binaural beats, the fan on, that thing that might be buzzing you in your ear that you really don't like, get rid of it, stop it. If someone's nudging you, nagging you, that you mentioned nudge a few times, that word, that verb, that is definitely going to be the vibe. And then you also said, just do it. And you said it in just a way for impulsive, immature, masculine yang action that I wonder if Nike and some of the additional stuff happening in the political spaces, we're going to see some interesting affiliate marketing shifts continue. The just do it. That seemed very, very relevant to Tuesday. Yeah.
That reminds me, we still need to do the songs and artists per sign, but what might be even more interesting, if we have a little bit of time, maybe we can do a little bit here, is if folks want to tee up for us a band or a song, Sarah and I will weigh in on what sign we feel is reflected by such. That actually, in some degree, might be more interesting.
That would be totally fun. We should do that. We should maybe do that like very soon.
Yeah, I think we should do a whole show like in a couple days, doing just that. But if anyone wants to tee one up in the few minutes we have left here, I'm at least willing to kind of throw in, feel what pops up first.
Right. And I almost wonder if we could stop this broadcast and then go back on to do just some vibing with that. So then that way we can have the astrology. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So you guys, if you want to take a bathroom break, reconvene. I know it's 10 minutes till 10 my time, but maybe we pop on here at 10 minutes at 10 o'clock and just do some jamming with divination and music. That way everyone can get a refill on their drink, use the potty, and we can finish up astrology and alchemy for those listening on Odyssey and iHeart. Join us next week, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. And reach out to Matt, mslosier@yahoo.com if you'd like a birth chart reading, or me, paranormalsarah.com, if you'd like any additional stuff. Guys, we love hearing from you. Do it. And then wherever and however you are tuning in live, hop back on, join us, follow along, subscribe, and let's do something fun with some music, because already people are calling out TLC, and you know I'm going to sing it. You know I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go get a fresh coffee.
Yeah, I got to say, too, I feel like Sarah and I are very different, and we probably have some overlap, but kind of our musical tastes are varied. So
I'm ready.
Some of these I may have to pass on, depending on what comes my way. But yeah, give me a second to set up the new show, and we will go ahead and do this. So we'll see you all soon.
See you soon.